Hey, it's Conrad the Mortgage Guy, and we are live at grillingjr.com. And of course, we couldn't do it without the Hall of Famer, the voice of professional wrestling, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Mr. Jim Ross. Jim, how are you, man?
I'm great. Good morning, good afternoon, as it were. Good to see you this morning, Conrad. Conrad, you losing weight?
Well, I don't know. I'm just getting better looking every day, Jim. Now listen, I appreciate you jumping on with us. What a big night you had last night. It was remarkable to see you not only come back to AEW, but you got the big intro. You got to come out the entrance tunnel. You come down the ramp. Like, this was a celebration of JR is back in AEW right there in Tulsa, Oklahoma. How did it feel to be back where you belong, Jim?
Oh, it was great. I had a great time. My kids were there. A couple of my grandkids were there. So it was good, man. I had a great time, and the team, the AEW team, welcomed me back. They were glad to see me, and almost as glad as I was to see them. So it was good, man. It was good. Tulsa, working in Tulsa brings back a lot of memories. That's where I got my start, in Tulsa, working for Cowboy Bill Watts and Leroy McGurk. So it was a feel good moment, quite frankly.
You know, we haven't spent a lot of time talking about your grandkids on the show before. Have they been to a lot of the wrestling shows, or was this one of their first ones? What about them?
One of the first ones, yeah. And they just come to see Grandpa, so I appreciated that.
Are the kids wrestling fans, or are they trying to learn about it, or where are they in their wrestling fandom?
Oh, I'd say mediocre.
Okay,
mediocre fans. They just, they got their lives and doing their thing, and where pro wrestling fits in that equation is kind of their answer to that question. But I think they are moderate wrestling fans, especially because of Grandpa.
Well, we were glad to see you back last night. It's always cool to hear that Oklahoma fight song, not just because of our podcast, but especially in the state of Oklahoma, in Tulsa. You got the heroes welcome. I thought you looked and sounded terrific, man. Was it just like riding a bicycle? I mean, you've been calling a little bit of wrestling here on the podcast, but it's different when you're live on TBS.
Yeah.
Did you have the pre-show jitters? Was it another day at the office? Did it take a minute to get settled in? Talk to me.
I think it took it a minute to get settled in. It was good. It was good. I didn't know what to expect, to be honest with you, but my natural instincts took over, and I had a lot of fun. That was a key thing. That's the key thing about doing commentary. If you don't have fun doing it, it's not going to work for you. So it's all good, man.
We're live here on YouTube, and fans are excited that you're back. Cody says, JR. Anyway, J2W says, JR, I love hearing your voice. Music says you looked and sounded great last night. Congrats. Brent Barnett said, you're the GOAT, JR. Garrett said, happy to see the voice of wrestling back at work. Travis is saying the GOAT has returned. Riley saying, so glad to see you return. You did wonderful. Renee chiming in, JR sounded great last night. Nico, great seeing you last night, JR. Man, people are excited that you're back. These messages are just pouring in. It's got to make you feel good to know that after all these years, people still love their JR and their wrestling, don't they?
Oh, you're not kidding. You're not kidding. Hey, Bull, I need to take a quick break.
We want to thank everybody for tuning in with us here today, and we're going to be talking to JR about everything that happened last night. Keep those questions coming.
Yes.
If you've got questions about Tanahashi's last match, we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about TNA debuting on AMC, and of course, Matt Cardona being back in WWE. Jim, if you need to go take a break, go ahead. And
real quick. Mother Nature has a funny way of tapping you on the shoulder.
Well, we're here for you, Jim. So take as much time as you need, and we greatly appreciate you guys hanging out with us. I do know for sure that we've got a live studio audience here, and people want to talk about some of the news of the week, but we're also going to give you a chance to answer any questions or ask JR any questions. We've got a handful of Ask JR Anything questions left over from 2 weeks ago that we can certainly pull from. But if you're part of the live studio audience, by God, just ask us now. And don't forget, if you maybe had a stocking stuffer that you forgot to give someone, maybe there's a late gift exchange that you needed to do. We all have one of those stragglers that you get together after the first of the year. Distance doesn't allow us to be together over the holidays. Can I recommend JR'sBBQ.com? My absolute favorite thing over there is the all-purpose seasoning. My wife and I use it on everything. And when I say everything, I mean it. Not just the steak, not just the chicken, not just the fish, even the popcorn, even the doggone eggs. He's got not one, but two types of barbecue sauce. He's even got a hot sauce. There's something for everybody, including some autographed books, some autographed action figures, some autographed trading cards. It's all available now for the wrestling fan in your life or yourself at jrsbbq.com. And I'm sure JR would love me to say, hey, as a reminder, it costs nothing to look. And you're going to find some good deals right now after the Christmas holiday at jrsbbq.com. Lots of fun questions coming in. Keep those questions coming for us. We are going to get to all of those. And as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about Tanahashi's last match. Did you have a chance to see Tanahashi's last match? And how did it compare to John Cena's last match? We recently saw WWE send John Cena into retirement, and he got the big farewell and locker room poured out. A different approach to Tanahashi's last match. Now, what they had in common is John Cena lost and Tanahashi lost, but it feels like there was a little more controversy about the John Cena finish than there is about the Tanahashi finish. Naturally, that's normal. We're going to talk more about WWE wrestling here in America than we are in New Japan. But do you think WWE should do more send-offs, New Japan style, Tanahashi style, or did you like the John Cena send-off? Let us know in the comments below what you thought of the Tanahashi farewell. Can't wait to pick JR's brain about that. And we're going to be talking about 1 week from today, a third player enters the game. Now, I know for a while TNA has been on TV, but this feels like a major level up. They'll be debuting next Thursday night, as a reminder, on AMC. And there's been lots of speculation. Who and what will be the surprises? There's already a few things announced. We know the Hardys are going to be there. We know Moose is going to be there. They've already started to roll out some announcements on the AMC social media side. But how important is that debut show? What do you hope to see next week on TNA's debut on AMC? Let us know in the comments below. Are you planning on watching? The rumor and innuendo is that we may have something up our sleeves where we're going to do a live reaction show next week. Stay tuned for more details about that. But I, for one, am excited that AMC is going to be the new home of TNA starting next week. Do you plan to watch? It's funny because we've noticed that whenever there's a new wrestling show debut, it feels like it does an all-time record rating. Whether it's SmackDown debuting on Fox, it was huge, but then about 4 weeks later, it was roughly half. We've seen the same pattern with other shows before where there's a big debut, and then a few weeks later, not quite the same audience. I think that first show is going to be critically important. And Eric Bischoff always says, hey, wrestling fans love surprises. JR says wrestling fans want new. What do you want to see next week on AMC from the new TNA debut? But most importantly, I can't wait to pick JR's mind about Matt Cardona. Matt Cardona bet on himself 5 years ago when he found himself released from WWE, and he took over the Indies and proclaimed himself the Indie God. And I made the argument on Jeff Jarrett's podcast earlier this week that he left the Indies better than he found them. Some people disagree with that and think that he didn't handle business the right way because he didn't finish out his dates. But Matt has explained that would have been impossible to do. He was booked all the way through the summer. So we're going to challenge all of that with JR and see, hey, you ran talent relations. Do you let a guy finish his dates when he has that many dates? What's proper protocol? What would you have done if you were bringing Matt Cardona back? And then what do you expect Matt Cardona to do in WWE in 26? Were you excited to see Matt back? And what would you do with him? Let us know in the comments below. I'll bring those questions to JR's attention and we will have a little fun. Right now, though, as we are waiting on Jim Ross to take care of his business, I want to take a little bit of a break because we've got a little sponsor announcement. But before we do, a big announcement about, I think, the most fun you can have in wrestling, and it's happening at the end of this month. Let's take a listen.
Coming up January 30th, join us for a fantastic wrestling experience in Atlanta with adfreeshows.com. Friday night, it's Promo Class with Tony Schiavone and David Crockett, where you can cut a promo in front of the JCP set from Ric Flair's last match, filmed professionally just for you. Saturday morning, it's time for the Power Plant with Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker and a special guest. Your chance to experience what it's like to get inside a real wrestling ring. Saturday afternoon, WWE Hall of Famer JBL will join us as we gather for the Royal Rumble Watch-Along and the $10,000 game event with Efren, where one top guy in attendance will have a chance to win $10,000. And Sunday, it's time for a WCW tour of Atlanta, guided by the one and only Eric Bischoff. Then we'll hit up the DDPY Performance Center. Bang! And finish the night with a ringside seat for a 1FW TV taping. All this and a whole lot more. The first of 3 planned events this year. Make sure to join us as a top guy with an annual membership at adfreeshows.com. You don't want to miss Eric Bischoff's Power Plant Weekend this January 30th.
Check it out at adfreeshows.com. Join us in Atlanta at the end of the month, and joining us back now, the good old JR, the voice of professional wrestling. Jim, over the weekend, we saw Tanahashi have his final match in New Japan. That was his last professional wrestling match. AEW had a whole host of talent on hand there. Jay White was there. I believe that Kenny Omega was there. Kota Ibushi was there. I mean, lots of people coming out to pay respects to one of the all-time greats. And you see, man, what a classy shot right there. Chat me up. What do you think about Tanahashi's last match? Did you have a chance to see it? And how would you compare and contrast sort of the farewell of John Cena in WWE versus Tanahashi in New Japan?
Well, I did not see it, to be honest with you. But I did have a long talk with Tanahashi the last time he was at AEW. And we've become friends over the years. He came up to me and wanted to take a picture, which I felt very humbled and very, very cool that he wanted to take a picture. He's like their Sting. He bailed them out when they were not doing great, when they didn't have anything hot. So he's just a great representative to the business, and hopefully the boys that are around him or have been around him will learn from him. Great talent, class act. I really think the world of him, and I would love to have seen. Did you watch the match with Okada?
I love the match. I don't know if you saw what Dave Meltzer had to say about it, but he said it's one of the best matches he's ever seen. So
Wow.
Fans absolutely love this match. I mean, when you get a guy like Dave Meltzer, who's seen more wrestling than almost any human being on the planet, to say, hey, this is one of the greatest matches of all time, I think you should go out of your way to see it. And we know what a great partner they've been for AEW. I mean, to allow a talent like Okada, who carved out quite a legacy for himself in New Japan, to have Tanahashi's last match, it does show you how important Tanahashi and Okada's wishes were, but also how strong that relationship with New Japan and AEW is, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great report. Tony Khan has done an amazing job of building a relationship with New Japan, and the beneficiaries of that, of course, are the fans, as it should be. Everything should be done for the fans, and if you're a fan, then it's easy to do that. If you're just a figurehead, it's not so great. I got a text message this morning at 1:30 from Tony Khan saying what a great job he thought I did on the show. And those kind of things make you feel good, be honest with you. So he gave me a chance to come back, and I asked him early in the day what I was going to do. And he said, well, I was just originally going to do the two main events, which I've been doing. But Mike Mansuri, the director, said, let's use JR. He's here. Let's use him for all the show. And I think there's some concerns about my stamina, because I have been sick, but I'm feeling great now. And it's just rebuilding that energy and so forth. So I just had a great time. It was a fun day. Catering was great. So when you start with catering being great, then that's a good way to begin your night or begin your day. So I had a lot of fun. Saw a lot of talents, got a chance to talk to a lot of talents. They seek me out for information or feedback, or what did you see this? What do you think of that? So I'm very blessed to still be a part of the AEW family, and working for Tony Khan is absolutely a blessing, without question.
We absolutely loved seeing you last night. We're still getting some really positive comments coming in about how great you sounded last night and how excited people are that you are back doing what you love for AEW. Speaking of doing what they love, I don't know if you saw, but Matt Cardona is back in WWE. He was released, I guess, 5 years ago, and has worked very, very hard to establish a name separate from WWE. Of course, when we last saw him in WWE, he was Zack Ryder. But now he's back on SmackDown this past week. Now that SmackDown is 3 hours, he's back and he's Matt Cardona. I think this is a testament to hard work and perseverance and a positive mental attitude. I mean, you want to talk about a story of persistence. Zack Ryder, I guess we'll call him Matt Cardona from now on. He's probably the embodiment of that in wrestling right now, don't you think?
I think so. He's got a great attitude. He's molded himself into a player. Good worker, real good worker. So I'm happy for him. Anytime somebody can live out their dreams, as I have done the past 50 years, it's a good thing. I'm happy for him. So let's hope he stays healthy and he has fun. He has a good time. I enjoyed that. I was surprised to see him. I did see that, by the way. So it was good, and good for him. Good for him.
I don't know if you saw, but there's a little bit of criticism online because obviously he's back full time with WWE and he's not going to be able to fulfill all of his agreed upon independent dates.
Right.
But he was the busiest guy in all of independent wrestling. As we're talking, of course, it's early January. He was booked till the summer. So the next 5 or 6 months, he was booked pretty solid every weekend, 2 or 3 shots every week. That's going to be impossible to do that and work for WWE, especially if you're on SmackDown. And as I understand it, he's still allowed to continue to do the podcast. We just heard that earlier this week. I don't think the action figure line is going anywhere, but maybe most importantly, and I know sometimes fans don't think about this, he's back on the road with WWE where his wife works. So quality of life, if she's going one direction and you're going another, that can present challenges in any relationship. So to be able to challenge or to travel with your spouse, I don't know, man, that's kind of hard to beat. When you were handling talent relations, what was your best practice or rule of thumb about finishing independent dates, or at the same time, I guess part 2 of this question, putting together spouses to travel together?
Well, I believe in keeping families together. I didn't always believe that. You want to say, well, what's best for the company, which is a true statement. But I tried to match up the husbands and wives together because I figured if they stayed happy, they'd do better work, and they'd be easier to manage, easier to solve their problems if you had a good communication with them. So I believe that you should, where you can, and it's really, you can do it anytime you want in wrestling because of how it's structured. But I believe that the husbands and wives function better, they're more productive if they are able to work on the same brand and travel together. I think that's a good thing. And maybe the old school way, well, whatever's good for the company, if they don't like it, they can go someplace else. Yeah, that shit's old and that ship has sailed and it's just not good. It's not good. So I believe that they should be together and protect the family unit. If you do, you'll get better results when they come to work.
Do you what do you expect out of Matt Cardona in WWE? We know that for whatever reason, the previous regime maybe was not as high on Zack Ryder as a lot of his internet wrestling fans were. I mean, he was a real pioneer with his YouTube show and growing social media. He was one of the first to really leverage all of that. I would give him and Matt Hardy a lot of credit in that regard, and to a different degree, certainly Colt Cabana. But as far as WWE goes, it feels like Matt was, or Zack Ryder at the time, was a real pioneer in pushing that. And we know the world has sort of caught up to that. It served him well, but there's been a narrative out there that maybe WWE didn't like that back then. Like you're not supposed to get over without our help sort of thing. Do you think that existed with Vince McMahon's WWE?
I don't know who he got on the wrong side of somebody for whatever reason, and I don't know it. Maybe they thought he was a little nerdy. I don't know. Maybe they thought he was a little too pushy. I have no idea. But he's a good worker. It wasn't his work that they were criticizing, at least in my opinion, because he's a good worker. Very good. I think his future in WWE will be in the middle of the card. somewhere, working with talented people, and that way we can see exactly what he's made of. And so I hope he does well. Anybody that loves wrestling as much as he does, I always hope that they do well.
Matt Cardona is one of the great guys in wrestling. I hope that you'll check out his podcast and his figure line and root for him when he comes to a town near you. I don't know if he's doing woo, 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 but he probably won't be too upset if you do. Jim, a week from today is a pretty damn big day for professional wrestling in 2026. TNA is debuting on AMC, and a lot of people are wondering, hey, what should we expect? There's even been some rumor and innuendo that, hey, hypothetically, if Chris Jericho is finished with AEW, and I don't think AEW has officially commented on that one way or another, but if that's the case, would you be surprised to see Chris Jericho debut in TNA, knowing that there is some affiliation with TNA and WWE? Would that be a great way to jumpstart AMC and TNA, or what do you think?
Well, it's an interesting question. That's a good question, Conrad. I think it's WWE or nothing for Jericho. He's happy. He seems to be happy. He's got a lot of influence at AEW. He basically, to simplify it, he books his own angles, and he works with the creator guys, and they communicate well. And Chris don't come empty-handed. He's always got a plan, and but I think his goal, if it is to leave AEW, where he's got a great deal, I'm under the impression he's got a great deal, then I think it's WWE or he stayed where he is. I don't think the TNA thing plays into it, but I could be wrong. Money changes a lot of opinion and a lot of sentiment. So I hope he doesn't leave. He's a valuable member of AEW. I know he does a lot of things that people never see, as far as helping talent and counseling talent, come up with ideas and so forth. And I think Tony Khan needs guys like Chris Jericho around to contribute ideas. I use this reference a lot, but when I worked for Bill Watts, he'd bring a guy in as a talent, but that talent that would be challenged to book his own material. Of course, Cowboy had to approve it and contribute to it if it needed contributing. But I think Jericho is just he's such a valuable member of AEW. Him leaving would hurt the brand to a degree, no doubt. You can't lose a talent like Chris Jericho and say that, oh well, we'll just move on. It doesn't matter. We got other guys that are ready to step up, and I hope that's true. But bottom line of it is that he's got options, and that's a smart guy. I said here before, one thing that impresses me about Jericho is that he is not afraid to reinvent himself and throw a different log on the fire to see how hot it burns. So I'm a big Jericho fan. I hired Jericho, I recruited Jericho, I brought him in. I remember vividly how he was introduced, and of course introduced to match up with The Rock. Couldn't get any better than that. So I've been in step with Jericho since those days, and it was one of the best hires I got lucky again, but it's one of the best hires I ever made.
Jericho was super talent for both WCW, WWE, and most recently AEW. And I am agreeing with some folks in the chat. It would be pretty awesome to see this all just be an elaborate story and Jericho pop back up on AEW programming. And I know that some people are going to say, well, we'll never see that happen. But I don't know how many people would have guessed that last night would be the return of Andrade. We saw Andrade after not seeing him for months on AEW programming. Now he's back. People were thinking maybe this was hokey pokey and we wouldn't see Andrade on AEW TV for a year or more, but he made his return last night. You were there in person for it, Jim. Were you surprised to see Andrade back? And how about that reaction?
I didn't know he was even in the building, so they kept him hid. But he's a good addition. He's a player. He can work. He can work with anybody, and he looks good. Classy looking guy. And if he's going to be with Don Callis, that'll help both of them. So AEW's got a lot of real good talents, like these guys you see on the screen. They got a lot of real good talents that haven't had their moment yet, and so we're all waiting to see how they respond in that moment, and rock and roll from there.
Well, I'm excited to see Andrade back in AEW. I know that he had been making some appearances outside of America. We saw him in New Japan over the weekend for Wrestle Kingdom. We saw him become the world champ down in Puerto Rico for WWC, and I think we even saw him for the Crash in Mexico. So he's been bouncing all around the world, but now he's back in AEW. He's had some bangers, as the kids would say, and I'm looking forward to what's next. Speaking of bangers, last night it looks like we're starting something new with Bandito and MJF. I know we're both high on both of those guys, but I got my fingers crossed. Do you think Bandito could be AEW champion? Is there a chance that's the direction this is headed?
Oh, he could be. He could be the champion. I don't expect that to happen. I'd be surprised if it did, but not disappointed. I think time will tell. You know, Tony Khan's very open-minded. He's open to suggestions and ideas. I've been really impressed as time has gone on with Bandito. He's a player. I think his language issues and his mask present certain challenges that he's got to overcome to develop an identity and to develop a relationship with the fans, because that's essential. It's not an option. You've got to connect with the audience, and if you don't, then you're not going to get over. If you don't get over, then why are you here? So, but I think these guys will have a good match. Size-wise, as you can see on this graphic, they have similarities, and I think that MJF is in for the long haul as the champion of AEW. I might be wrong. He may lose it next week. Who knows? That's kind of what's cool about AEW. You can't hardly guess what's going to happen. You can guess what's going to happen, but it's not necessarily going to happen. But I'm glad that that's a good match for MJF. That's a real good match to establish the fact that he's not just a loudmouth punk who was the right place, right time to become champion. That he's a keeper, and I wish him only nothing but the best. You know, I talked to him at catering yesterday. We talked about his marriage and talked about his plans and things of that nature. He's maturing a lot, and he needed to. He's maturing a lot, and I think Tony Khan is counting on MJF to be one of his cornerstone guys to help build the brand. And he's young. He's not 30. He's a talented hand, and he's just such a great talker.
I'm looking forward to seeing that match. And if you, for whatever reason, have been living under a rock and you're not familiar with Bandito, I want to recommend you go out of your way to see his match this past July in Dallas. They were doing a Ring of Honor pay-per-view in Arlington, and Takeshita and Bandito had what I think might be the match of the year last year.
Wow.
I hope that you'll check that out. Jim, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about Monday Night Raw. I know we have joked here before that you don't have Netflix, but you still don't have it. So you didn't see Braun Breaker and CM Punk, correct?
I did not. I heard a lot about it, and I'm curious. I'm interested. I'm a big fan of where Braun Breaker is going to eventually land his destination. But he's a keeper as well. He's got the DNA. He looks wonderful. But you know, and I thought that was a good booking with he and Punk, because Punk could lead him along, take care of him, and make it more of a learning moment than just a match. So, but he's a cornerstone, is Breaker, and of course CM Punk's one of the biggest stars in the last many years in pro wrestling. So. Good for both. It's a good booking. It's a good booking. I will go when moving forward. That's a good thing about digital stuff and having an iPad and all that good stuff. I'm going to definitely watch the match. I just don't know exactly when, but sooner than later, because I'm anxious to see it. And I also want to watch Okada and Tanahashi. I mean, it's humbling for one of the biggest stars in wrestling to look you up when he sees you and want to take a picture with you on his last trip to America. I thought that was kind of cool. I know it's not a good word, but I guess I'm a mark.
I think we're all marks. We're all marks. That's why we're here, and we're enjoying chatting with about wrestling with you. We are live, so if you've got a question for JR, keep those coming. I want to talk to you about Stone Cold. Then we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to hit all of these questions, including the one that you don't think I'll ask. So stay tuned for that. Stone Cold Steve Austin, your great close personal friend, recently did a sit-down interview with friend of the show, Chris Van Vliet, and the subject of WrestleMania 17 came up. And not too terribly long ago, we asked you on one of these Ask JR Anythings, hey, what was your favorite event you ever got to broadcast? And you didn't hesitate. You talked about WrestleMania 17 in Houston at the Astrodome. And of course, we know that that's the night that Stone Cold and The Rock hooked it up for the second time. The first one was at 15, but the biggest WrestleMania of all time was 17, the rematch. And at the end of that night, Stone Cold was victorious, but he shook hands with Vince McMahon and turned heel. Well, Chris Van Vliet asked Stone Cold about that, and Steve said something like, if I could go back in time, I would not have done it. I felt it in the ring that night. I should have just said, hey man, we're changing this. Watch the stunner. And I should have just stunned Vince's ass and never went down that road. JR, you called the match. And I know that fans were so excited and so loud. I don't know that everyone in the stands even really processed what had happened, that Stone Cold had turned heel. Did you feel the energy shift? Did it feel negative at the time that fans weren't going to be behind a heel Stone Cold? Could you tell that night?
Yeah, I thought it was a bad fit. I thought it was a bad creative. I tried to talk to everybody that would listen out of doing it. And I think Steve probably, if he had, like you said, his own words, if he had to do all over again, he wouldn't have done it. And that would have been fine. That would have been fine. Nobody would have protested. The Rock would not have said shit. And if McMahon doing whatever he can to keep Austin happy is the same thing any Booker would do with their top guys. You're going to do whatever you have to do that within reason to keep them happy. And a happy Stone Cold is a whole hell of a lot better than an unhappy Stone Cold. So I agree with Steve on that deal. The example I use, and people know how big a John Wayne fan I am, but it's kind of like John Wayne being in one of his military movies and turning heel and becoming a Nazi. I just didn't think anybody was going to buy it. They didn't want to buy it. I just think if we had done a better job of having opponents ready for him on a near level of The Rock, a star, he would never have thought of this. I think he thought he was getting stale. You need to do something different. And sometimes doing things different just for different sake is a mistake. And on this particular occasion in Houston at WrestleMania 17, I thought that creative was a mistake. I love the show. You know, that's the Dudleys and the Hardys, Edge and Christian, all that stuff was just off the page. It was innovative. It was fresh. It was great. I love calling that match because you had no idea what they were going to do because there was no precedent. Well, they'll do this spot, then they'll do that spot. Well, who the hell knew what they were going to do? I liked it a lot. I think 17 was one of my favorites. You know, the irony of this thing is Vince and I helped him with that card, and he said, well, what do you think? I said, well, I think that we didn't book Hunter and Undertaker. Oh, shit. So they got booked, and they were on the show. But it's just one of those situations, man. I'm glad that Steve got it out of his system, but it was a waste of time. He should have gone over Rock or worked a disqualification or put Rock over. I don't know. But what we did it didn't seem like it worked.
Steve was also asked about Goldberg. You know, back in 1998, I think most wrestling fans counted that as maybe their dream match. The top guy in WCW versus the top guy in WWE. They're both bald badasses with goatees, wearing all black and wearing the gold. Well, Chris Van Vliet brought it up to Stone Cold and wanted to know, hey, was it possible that you were going to do a Goldberg Steve Austin match when he first came in? As a reminder, Goldberg debuted the night after WrestleMania 2003. So the very last day of March 2003. That's what we're talking about. Something that happened 22 years ago. But Steve said, I don't know. I think we pitched it when he first came in, but he wasn't at the level that he needed to be. He had just come into WWE and he needed to get over. He needed to get going or get over first. He was certainly over from his WCW days. I think a little bit of time had elapsed, and I watched him down there in Atlanta, but we were all on the road at the time, and that was during the Monday Night Wars. If you set your DVR to record back in the day, you kind of knew what was going on. I watched Dallas Page kind of go down a parallel path as me, as this timeline of getting over. But yeah, Goldberg just needed to put some time in the WWF before we could go, and then it just never happened. Bill is a good friend of mine. But that's interesting. I think a lot of wrestling fans would probably say, why not just put them right together? I know when you think back to 1994, and I realized that was 9 years prior, but when Hulk Hogan first made the jump to WCW, boy, Eric Bischoff and Ted Turner did not hesitate. They put Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair together at Bash at the Beach and set an absolute record. For whatever reason, the thinking at the time, whether it was Vince or Austin or others, was we need to get Goldberg over to the WWE audience, not comparing Goldberg to Hulk Hogan. But if you had it to do over again, would you have tried to do a Goldberg Hulk Hogan or Goldberg Steve Austin match in 2003? Or is Austin right? Based on Vince's line of thinking, Goldberg needs to get over to this WWE audience first.
I felt that Goldberg needed to get over to our audience. It's a different audience than WCW, which I think the ratings bore that out. But he needed to get over, and just because he was over in WCW doesn't automatically mean he's going to be over in WWE. And also the thing about it is that he just. Bill was never a skilled in-ring performer, and he was a little green, and he had been off for a while, so he needed to get his feet back under him. And the plan was to get him over, and I'm sure once he got over, he would have had a run with Austin, but not until Austin felt like Goldberg was ready, and that's you get that from an experienced hand like Steve, who was very protective of his spot, and he'd worked so diligently over his whole career to ascend to that level. And like I said earlier, you want to keep your top guys happy if you can.
Well, I know how you can keep your spouse happy at home, and that's thanks to our sponsor. Let's take a listen. Fellas, you already know what time it is. It's time to level up, and Blue Chew just dropped something crazy. I'm talking next level championship belt gold plated energy. Blue Chew Gold is the newest innovation from the #1 chewable ED brand, and this ain't your grandpa's little blue pill. This is the 4-in-1 beast that's setting the gold standard for performance. We're talking 2 ingredients for blood flow to keep that rocket pumping, mixed with apomorphine and oxytocin to turn up the arousal and the connection in your brain and body. You see, Blue Chew Gold dissolves under your tongue, and it works in as little as just 15 minutes. That means you can get it on quicker and stay in the game longer. Elevation without hesitation. This is peak passion and peak performance in a single tablet. If your bed could talk after this, it'd be asking for a break. Make your life easier by getting harder and discover your options at BlueChew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Get 10% off your first month of Blue Chew Gold with the code JR. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast. And we are live here with good old JR. If you've got a question, we want to hear from you. Hit us with them, and we're going to go through as many of these as we can. Travis says, wonderful to see you back where you belong, behind the commentary desk with a headset on. In your opinion, what's the magic formula for making a storyline successful, and has it adapted over time? Is there a secret sauce or a secret formula, Jim?
Of course there is, Conrad. I think you're looking to discover what's real, what will not encourage people to roll their eyes on an angle. So being silly, and not being real is an issue. So absolutely, I'm a big fan of. I think people get when they can invest emotionally in a storyline because they can identify with it in some shape, form, or fashion. You're better off, and you got some staying power as well.
Brent Barnett wants to know, Jim, did you ever attend one of Stu Hart's Stampede wrestling shows? Also, any stories from your interactions with Stu over the years?
I never went to a show in Calgary. I would like to have, in hindsight, without question. I spent a day with Stu once, and we visited the dungeon. He stretched me just because he could, and he liked doing it. And I didn't want to disappoint him. I wanted to keep him happy and kind of smiling. But it was kind of cool. I learned a lot. Stu and I talked. We had a lot of time to talk because we were waiting on Brett, and Brett was a little late on his call, but he showed up, and Stu punished the shit out of him. Anytime you let a shooter like Stu Hart, you'd allow them to put you in a hold, might not be a good outcome because there's no fighting back. So, but I had a lot of fun with Stu. It's a funny thing. What you remember? We're sitting in the kitchen, and at the kitchen table, up jumps one of Stu's cats. They had a lot of cats, and Stu liked cats. And as any old booker or owner would do, Stu always had a pencil with him. It's a regular pencil with an eraser on it. And what he was doing, that cat was used to this treatment. The cat got on the table, laid down, and Stu took the eraser end of the pencil and massaged the cat's balls. Oh yeah. So I'm thinking, Leroy McGurk and Cowboy didn't prepare me for this. I'll just try to work my way through it. But it was things like that happen in wrestling, and I told Brett the story. He laughed his ass off. He said, "Well, Dad, I really like that cat, old Tomcat," and he's surrounded by female cats. He had pretty well had it made, but that whole house was a fertile house because what did Stu and his wife Helen have 10 kids or 12 or something, a lot. So I had a good day with Stu. A good day. He told me a lot of great stories. He worked with Leroy back in the day. He was a fan of Leroy's work because Leroy was a great amateur and as such a shooter. So, it was a fun trip, and the only thing I remember negatively about it was colder than hell.
Boss Brat says, JR, welcome back. You look great. If you don't mind me asking, you look noticeably slimmer. How much are you down weight wise?
Well, before I got sick, I was too heavy, about 240. And last time I weighed in the high 180s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I lost a lot of weight, and it scares the hell out of you because, I was diagnosed with cancer. So you're thinking, well, it's got me. I'm shrinking. I'm losing all this weight. It's not something I'm planning on doing, but it's what's going down, and I'll just deal with it. That's what I've done with all my issues in life. I just deal with it. So anyhow, I lost a lot of weight, and I noticed that picture that you showed, Bull showed a while ago, of me coming to the ring. My daughters, who are in the audience, told Stephen Link, who works for me, runs a website, jrsbarbecue.com, that we got to get Dad some new clothes because those are just way too big for him. And I didn't notice it until this morning when I saw the right there. I don't know what size that coat is, but it was way too big. And but it is what it is. I wasn't thinking about my attire when I was in Tulsa last night whatsoever, but maybe I should have. but I lost a lot of weight, and but I feel better. I feel good.
Well, we're glad to see you back, man. You look terrific. You sounded terrific. We're glad you're back. Graham is with us, and he says, Jim, who's your favorite NFL player of all time? Do you have a favorite NFL player, Jim?
Yes, sir. Leroy Selman.
Okay.
Number 1 pick in the draft when he came out of OU. Of course, he was the greatest of all the Selman brothers, and there were 3 of them that were tremendous: Leroy, Dewey, and who was the other one? Lucius. So they were from Eufaula, Oklahoma. So they played high school football for the Eufaula Ironheads, and I'm old enough to have officiated many of their high school football games, and it was almost comical because they were so big, so strong that they imposed their will, but they had great hearts. Their dad, I think their dad was a minister, but they had strong Christian values, and but boy, they could play football.
Yeah, Leroy Selman was before my time, but he went into the College Football Hall of Fame in '88, the Pro Football Hall of Fame in '95, and I guess about 15 years ago, the NFL Network listed him amongst the top 100 greatest players of all time. I think there's even an expressway named after him. So I learned a little bit about Leroy Selman here today.
He had he had a good barbecue restaurant down there too in Tampa that I went to every time I was in town, just to support the cause and because the food was great. So, but Leroy was a great guy. Was a great guy. He passed on, but he was a great man, and I can probably one of my most vivid memories of Leroy Selman, aside from him and his brothers dominating the defensive line at OU. They all played the defensive line beside each other. So the 3 Selman brothers, and I remember the hot bumper sticker was "God bless Mrs. Selman," from an OU fan. So, but he was just a tremendous guy. And when OU won the national championship, unfortunately, our last one, we need to catch up. We played Florida State in the Orange Bowl. We beat them 13-2, and during the game, Coach Stoops had me on the sideline, which he always tried to do. And Leroy, of course, was down there. So Leroy and I stood beside each other for that entire second half, which is still up in the air, anybody's ball game. But it ended up being 13-2, and we just had a great time talking to Eastern Oklahoma guys. And I just thought the world of him. He was. I remember Barry Switzer saying that when he was coaching him, he said, he has yet to be blocked. Nobody can block him. So, but you'd think he's a mean meat eater, carnivore, nasty, but that wasn't him. He just was a great player. The game motivated him, not his ego.
We got a fun question here. One that you and I have never talked about before, but I have heard through the grapevine from some of the old wrestlers say that, hey, back in the day, the video games were a pretty good clip. Once upon a time, we've heard that you get a monster check for your action figures back in the LJN era. But in the more recent years, you would hear, man, they got a big check for the video game.
Right.
And Nevermind Gaming wants to know, Jim, how much did 2K pay you for the WWE games? You don't have to give us an exact amount, but I've never asked you. Like, you had to do more work on that than probably any of the performers, because most of that was motion capture by other people who are sort of imitating Stone Cold or The Rock. But I imagine you and JR had to go, or you and the King had to go into a booth and record for hours all the different phrases and things.
We did.
A good payday for the announcers too?
Yeah, it was a good payday. Plus, it got us in the game. So once you got in the game, and if it sold, you get paid handsomely. So yeah, that was a good thing. I got some 6-figure checks from the video games.
Oh shit! Look at you.
Yeah. So big shot. I was a wheel. I told my dad one time when I got big, I wanted to be a wheel. He said, "You know what a wheel is, don't you?" I said, "What, Dad?" He said, "It's a round thing a dog pisses on." So I always wanted to be a big wheel. And those checks, man, I could understand the shock and awe that some of the boys had when they got their checks. Like I read stories about the Iron Sheik getting a check for $100,000, and he thought it was $99 and all this stuff. But it was a great thing. It's a real good supplemental income for the talents, to give them some bump-free money and mailbox money, I like to call it. Everybody likes a little mailbox money, Conrad.
William Christopher says, I recently started a book on the original Sheik. Has JR ever worked with the original Sheik? That's an interesting question. We never talked about that.
Absolutely, I have. First Territory, he was trained by Vern Gagne up in Minnesota, and I don't think he was even a citizen at that time. But I worked for Cosgrove. Cosgrove was Sarah. He went about 180, and he traveled with Danny Hodge, two of the toughest shooters in the history of wrestling. Nobody knew about, because the shooting and that kind of shit was just not topical as it is today, seemingly. But he was. I had a lot of fun with him. I remember.
Jim, I think he was asking about the original Sheik, not the Iron Sheik, but Farhat.
Oh yeah, I think I may have had I apologize for that, Conrad. I thought you were talking about Cosgrove. I think I worked once or twice on some big shows the Cowboy had, because Ernie Ladd was the booker, and Ernie had worked for the original Sheik, Eddie Farhat, in his heel wrestling days. So, but I worked with him very seldomly. He just, he had his own territory. It was in Detroit. We were in Oklahoma, but the Cowboy booked him to get him a payoff and payday, and he booked him with also the thought anytime a booker would come into the Cowboys territory, the other thing they're going to do is look for talent and who's good and who's not, and who could they take a chance on, and so forth and so on. So, but not much. But he was a unique guy, to say the least. I've heard a lot of stories about him. He was a very unique guy, and he built a hell of a business in Detroit. It's funny how these guys have these one city territories. Paul Bosch had Houston, Sam Muchnick had St. Louis, and I'm sure there are other illustrations I'm omitting in it accidentally, but Farhat he's a bright guy. Don't be fooled by that gimmick and the throwing fire and the head attire and all that stuff. He was a very shrewd, smart businessman.
Jake from Windy City says, hello, JR. Did you ever think that today, when AEW first formed, you would work with Tony Schiavone again in your career? You probably didn't have that on your bucket list, did you?
I didn't think it was that far ahead, to be honest with you, but I'm glad that we have. Reuniting with Tony is, a blessing. He's a very talented broadcaster. You ain't got to worry about him holding up his end of the load. He can carry his share of the water, no doubt about it. And I think that working like last night in Tulsa, Excalibur has the opportunity there to work with two veterans that can help keep him focused and keep him on the right side of the law, so to speak. So I enjoy seeing Tony. I mean, he brings back great memories. The first Clash and Clash of Champions won. So, but we've had a lot of fun. I helped Tony get his contract just by having a big mouth to Jack Petrick, and I said, I can't believe what we're getting paid and what our ratings are at that time, and we're not getting any money. So we have families and so forth, blah blah blah. So he paid us. I think Crockett wasn't paying Tony much money. I want to say that less than $50,000 a year, less than, and I got us $150,000 a year just by pleading our case, So, and then I used the illustration of Skip Carey and all these guys that were doing baseball for the Braves. Well, they were making great money, and our ratings were better than theirs, so it worked out pretty good at the end of the day. And but I enjoy working with Tony. I enjoy keeping up with him, and as Jim Cornette once said, his 5 Howl at the Moon children. So, and Tony still does a great job. He's still motivated. He does a lot of things for the company, and he's certainly not lazy. He's motivated. He's a pro, and a good pro.
A wrestling historian is with us. He always brings the good questions. He wants to know, how would you have booked the Dr. Death versus Steve Austin feud if he had won the Brawl for All tournament? Thanks in advance. I think a lot of fans could have gotten excited about seeing Dr. Death and Steve Austin. Is there a dream scenario that you would have put them in, some sort of storyline or angle or some such?
Well, Doc needed his mouthpiece, somebody to help do promos. You get him in the ring and ring the bell, he's fine. I'd have put Austin over without any hesitation. So it would have been a good win for Steve. That's the kind of wins that help make a champion establish a championship. So yeah, that would have been a hell of a match to call. I can tell you that.
All Access says, Joe Bruin here from Rhode Island. Hope you're feeling well, my friend. The well wishes continue to come. Nika says, JR speaks of the freakish grip strength of Danny Hodge. Could he speak on the difference of grip strength between Danny Hodge and a guy like Kurt Angle?
No comparison. Hodge was by far, Hodge had the strongest hands of anybody that I ever been around in any sport, any endeavor. It's just, he was just a freak. And, but no, Kurt Angle, now you talk about wrestling, they would have had a hell of amateur based wrestling match. No doubt about that. But, man, hand strength, nobody compared to Hodge.
Jim, we are live on YouTube, and we're getting a lot of attendance today, and we've got a lot of comments coming in, and some of those comments are in regard to a response video that Devon and Maven posted yesterday on Devon's YouTube channel. They were responding to your response, so there's a bit of some back and forth, but I wanted to give you a heads up. You and I haven't talked about this, but last Friday I got a text from Maven. I won't read it word for word. I don't think that would be fair, but he mentioned that they had just finished a stream with Devon, Maven, and he had, and he said, I asked him, if Conrad asked JR, would you do a video with him to clear the air? And he said, yes. He said other niceties. And then I said, hey, tomorrow's JR's birthday, so I'll wait and hit him with the idea next week. But I was hoping for the same thing, which is why I asked if they could get together for lunch or whatever. It feels like everyone would be better off talking through it and shaking hands or hugging it out. As JR likes to say, no room in my carry-on for negativity.
All right.
And Maven said, well said. I couldn't agree more. Neither men need the baggage from past perceptions. Sounds good. And I hope it happens. So I don't know if you've had a chance to see the video, but I think Devon and Maven were both saying, hey, they're fans of JR and they wish you nothing but the best. But
I appreciate that.
I think they would all like to see, I think everyone, the world would like to see you and Devon get together at some convention and share a handshake or a hug or a beer or some barbecue or something.
No problem, Conrad. I'm happy to do it. I'm just not going to put it on tape and make a TV show out of it. Period.
No, I don't disagree at all. I just wanted you to have a chance to, I don't know if you've had a chance to see our live chat, but we're getting peppered with that. People think you don't want to talk about it. And it's like, he's not afraid to talk about it. He already addressed it, but
how many times I got to address it to satisfy everybody?
I agree.
I'm not a racist. I've never been a racist. Ask some of the African-American athletes that I've been around and worked with in my 50-year career. They'll agree with it. They'll say the same thing. And like I said before, when you and I first talked about this, I don't remember the first crossword I had with Devon. The boisterous one was Bubba.
Right.
But not in a bad way. He just had no problem expressing himself, and Bubba had a lot of ideas. He was a throwback, a main event guy that wanted to be involved in booking his angle. And I love that. If more guys would do that in today, they just wait for someone to tell them what they're going to do tonight. And that's the wrong approach, in my opinion. But I'd have no idea, no problem, reconnecting with Devon, I'm making a lot of car shows. I'm going to, I think trying to think, I got one coming up in, I'm going to England again. Manchester, I think.
For the love of wrestling, probably.
Probably so. I'm looking forward to that. Lawler and I are going. I worry about things like that because that's a lot of flying for a guy that's had 3 strokes as Lawler's had. But I think it invigorates him to be involved, and so who am I to? I understand that. I understand that. We all of us old veterans want to be involved, and so. But anyhow, but the Devon thing, I'm not mad. I never got mad at him. I was bewildered by how this could happen. Because, like I said, I don't remember any negative exchanges with him, and what I was allegedly said would damn sure be negative. And
well, Jim, I know you didn't have a chance to see it, but I think as the snot thickens, as my friend would say, I think Devon said in the most recent video that when this encounter happened, according to Devon, that you were what he described as extremely drunk. So it's not like you would remember any of this anyway. But the point is, there's no ill will in your heart towards Devon or any other person of color, and there's not been a record of that we know of that we can recall or point to, or that anyone has ever cited, and it's never come up. But I see some people in the live chat who would really like to see you guys get together. But if there is a real issue, to me, that happens. Guys clear the air behind closed doors, man to man, looking each other in the eye, not, hey, let's monetize it. Now that's an angle. That's a gimmick. That's a story. You're probably not going to be up for that.
I'm not. Yeah. I'm not interested in that. I am interested in reconnecting with Devon because I like Devon.
Yeah.
I thought, when I hired the Dudleys, nobody in my world thought that they would become as big as they did, because a lot of the decision makers and the big shots did watch ECW. I did, and so I look at the guys we hired from ECW that were main players. Taz, by the way, Taz had. I think I talked to his son last night. Taz had. I think he said he had a knee replacement and a hip replacement or something. Some serious shit. So if you see him on social media or whatever, wish him good luck. Wish him best wishes. And I don't know when he's going to come back to commentary. That's not my area, but he's having to put his body back together, one joint at a time.
We're all pulling for Taz,
yeah,
and we're pulling for you, man. It was so great to see you back on AEW TV. We're glad you're back, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's next. Do you have another AEW date booked? Are you going to be on Dynamite next week, or we're going to see you at the pay-per-views? Do you know when your next assignment will be?
I think I'm going to be in Orlando in 2 weeks, according to TK, Tony Khan. He's using me judiciously. He's very concerned about my health, and I try to convince him I'm good. I did a 2-hour show last night. I don't know when the last time I did a 2-hour show. It's been a while, but I felt like we came through it with. We're obviously getting positive reviews, but I'm very happy that of how it worked out. And maybe I convinced Tony Khan I can go out and do a 2-hour show. Now I can tell you, just out of my own mindset, being able to do the last 2 matches of the night, the 2 main events, is a pretty cool deal because the match quality is better. There's usually a bigger issue tying the 2 or 4, whatever, combatants together. So, but I think my next assignment is going to be in Orlando. And we're going to be doing Dynamite in Orlando in 2 weeks.
Well, there you go. Look out for JR coming to a town near you. Tickets are on sale now at AEWTIX.com. We'll hope you'll make plans to join AEW and, of course, the voice of professional wrestling, Jim Ross. We continue to see these well wishes pour in for you. I don't know if you saw this one, but what a great comment here from Trenton. There was a whole section of us from your hometown, Westville, that showed up to support. My Nana Rosetta from school days says, hi, my Nana Rosetta. Do you remember Rosetta?
I think it might have been Rosetta Wilhite.
How about that? What a look
Yeah.
at the recall on good old JR this afternoon.
I smoked that much weed. I see those opportunities. I wish I'd have known they were there. I might have been able to upgrade their seats or something along those lines. But my two daughters are there. One of my granddaughters is there. So, but it was fun. It's like a little reunion, a little nostalgic to say the very least.
Well, we were nostalgic just hearing you do your thing last night. We're so glad that you're back. The group chat tends to agree with you about the controversy of the day. William Christopher says it makes more sense to resolve issues off camera. Paul says, JR, just tell all these assholes to get effed. You don't need the BS. Folks, JR has said it loud and proud. JR, hit them with it. You've got a line about negativity in your carry-on. Hit us with that one.
Oh, I've just said all along, I don't have any room in my carry-on for negativity. At this stage of my life, I'm not packing it. So if somebody's looking for that, look elsewhere, because that ain't going to happen for me.
And folks, that'll do it. Next week, JR is going to be back doing what he does best, calling professional wrestling. We've got some really special matches lined up in the coming weeks and months. Normally, you can count on hearing JR call old school wrestling and give you commentary on matches that previously did not have that commentary. We've got some stuff from Ring of Honor. We've got some stuff from way back when. I don't know if you saw, but in the archives just a few weeks ago, we saw a match from the Meadowlands from 1984 with Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat for the NWA title. That was way back in 84. We all know what happened in 89, but if you ask the guys, they would say, man, we were really getting it in the early 80s. That's available in the archives right now at grillingjr.com. Look forward to more of that great content next week here on the program. Hit the subscribe button and don't forget to turn on the notifications bell. If you're listening to this recorded, you could have been here live asking JR questions. It costs nothing to look. It's totally free. Hit that subscribe button and don't forget to hit the notifications bell. JR, while you were taking care of nature's call earlier, we made sure to remind everybody to hit jrsbbq.com. But I think if somebody ordered right now, they could have it by the time they're watching wrestling with you next Thursday, don't you think?
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely. We try to process these orders as quickly as we can. When they come in, we start packing. So we were out of we sold out of some stuff, but we're restocked. The seasoning, ketchup. I think our ketchup gets overlooked. It's a great steak sauce too. If you warm it up a little bit in a little bowl in your microwave, it's a great steak sauce. So, but give it a shot. But Stephen Link, who drove me to Tulsa last night, runs my website. Steve's very diligent. He takes a personal interest. He has made a personal investment, emotional investment into our audience, and he takes care of everybody really well. And he knows if he doesn't, I'll give him hell for it, because that's just not how I do business.
Well, we love you, Jim. We're so glad you're back doing your thing, calling wrestling. Can't wait to see you in Orlando in a few weeks, and can't wait to listen to you do your thing next week right here on Grilling JR. Tell a friend, JR's calling the classics. You don't want to miss it. It's totally free. It's right here on YouTube at grillingjr.com, and we'll be back next Thursday with the voice of professional wrestling, Mr. Jim Ross.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Tell a friend about our show. We really appreciate your support. And I'm grateful, very, very grateful. And thanks for all the kind words about my return to AEW in Tulsa. Nobody had more fun in that night than last night than me, I can promise you. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you here next week.